Good morning, everyone. I'm so excited to spend my time with you today. Um, if you guys have never joined me before, because I've had a lot of people starting to discover this channel and my Facebook group, or actually my Facebook business page. My name is Hannah Goforth. I am the owner and art instructor at Go Explore Create Art Studio here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I typically teach in schools. I am usually at Jubilee Christian School in Mount Lebanon, and this summer I'm to be the art instructor at Kathy's Music in Castle Shannon. So, very excited for all of you that have joined me already. Today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to actually be doing a little bit of an artist study. So, we're going to be mixing in some art history today, along with what we were talking about yesterday, proportions and color blending. So, let me introduce you to the artist we're looking at today. This is a picture of a piece of Wayne Thiebald's work. He has been an artist for decades. This particular picture or painting was created in 1965 and 66. So that means he probably started it in the fall and ended it in the spring or something like that. But this is a really fun fact about Wayne Thiebald. He was born in 1920 and he's still living. He is 99 years old. And he was still creating artwork in 2016. That was the latest piece that I found from him. So that was really exciting to study up on him for today's lesson. So what do we see here? This picture is called Candies. And Candies is a really great value study. So you can see the shadows that are being cast on the different candies as they're lined up in a row. And you also see a lot of play on colors with each of these pieces of candies. I see purple, blue, green, orange, all on the same piece of candy. And man, they just look so realistic, don't they? So we're going to go ahead and get started. So as I mentioned before, when I put out my lesson yesterday, we're going to be completing the project two ways. My sample piece is done in crayon. And I'm going to do one type in crayon, and I'm going to do the other one in watercolor paint. So you can really choose if you want to play around with that wax resist that we were doing last week with our firefly jars. You could actually color it in crayon and then paint watercolor over it to kind of have a really cool effect. So I'm giving you guys a lot of leeway today. So the first thing we're going to do is learn how to draw a cupcake, okay? So I am actually skipping the pencil step today. We're going to go straight to Sharpie because it's going to be very simple lines, okay? Now remember what I said before, I use my hand for measuring many times. So I'm going to use my hand for measurement again today. And I am doing two smaller pieces of paper. You can do, sorry, YouTube does not like my autofocus. You can do one larger piece of paper. I cut this one in half, okay? So you can do it on one large piece of paper, but the proportions are going to be about the same, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do when I'm drawing my cupcake is I'm going to draw three sides of a box. So I'm going to have about 2 fingers from this edge and 2 fingers from this edge. This is going to make my cupcake nice and wide. So 2 fingers from the edge. I'm going to draw a line that goes straight down. I'm going to start in the middle of my paper and go about probably 3 fingers from the bottom. Okay, so I've got 2 fingers from the edge, 3 fingers from the bottom. So let me go ahead and draw the other side of the cupcake over here. And then this is a super happy cupcake. It's happy to see me today. So I'm going to close it off with a smile. Okay. Now I can do my cupcake wrapper. And for my cupcake wrapper, I'm going to use a very simple zigzag line. And I'm going to try each zig and zag to be 1 finger wide. So what does that mean? I'm going to zig 1 finger, zag 1 finger, zig 1 finger, zag 1 finger. I can go all the way across. That way it looks like those nice baking cup wrappers. And then I'm going to go ahead and start drawing my second one. This one on this side is going to be painted. The other side is going to be colored. What I'll do is I'll do a few demo pieces on the coloring side, and then on the painting side, I'll paint the entire thing for you today, okay? So now I'm going to do that zigzag across the top. Oh, huge shout out to everyone who sent me superheroes yesterday over Facebook. They were so, and post it to either the link for this video, or you can post it to the lesson link, or you can private message it to me if you don't want it out there in the public. I love getting pictures of your artwork. It makes me so thrilled. Now, here's my zigs, here's my zags. In that little V shape at the bottom, I'm going to draw lines that go straight down. I think one of my favorite things in the whole wide world is a brand new Sharpie. Has that beautiful black line. All right. Now, let's go ahead and start doing our cupcake top, okay? So I want to show you guys my cupcake again. I made a whipped meringue frosting on top of my cupcake. Today I'm going to be drawing a cherry on top of the cupcake. What do you want to have on the top of your cupcake? Do you want an orange slice? Do you want a piece of chocolate? Would you like a strawberry? What would you put on top of your cupcake? So the way I build my frosting up is I'm going to use wavy lines, okay? I'm going to make it almost look like clouds sitting on top of one another. So I'm going to do 4 layers. So I make a wavy line and then I bring it in on the other side. 1, 2, and see how I'm making it just a little bit smaller? 3. Now for the top, I'm going to make it look like a whipped frosting top, okay? So to make that whipped frosting top, instead of going flat, I'm going to actually go straight up a little bit and make that nice S curve, okay? Then I can curve that one back around. If yours doesn't look like that, that's okay. It's going to look exactly like what it's going to look like. I am not going to be worried if your cupcake frosting looks a little bit different than my cupcake frosting. Because I can tell you right now, I bet it looks just as delicious. Nice thing about me doing 2 is that you get 2 demos for the price of 1. And then I'm going to go up like that. See how I just kind of made that hook? And then back down. There we go. Ooh, I like that one even more. Remember how we talked about practicing, makes your drawing even better? Now for my cherry, I'm just going to put a circle, okay? And if you don't want to put what you're putting on top up here, put it wherever you want, okay? And then I'll use 2 rainbow lines to make that stem. And then to make it look a little bit 3D, draw a little circle on the end of it, okay? Oh, and then I love this. You don't have to do this on all of them, on all your different styles for toppings, but I like to put a little tiny shiny spot on that cherry. Let me show you how to do that again. So I've got my circle for my cherry, 2 rainbow lines, circle on the end. And then for that, I'm just going to draw a straight line for my little shiny spot. 2 little rainbow lines. They got a little bit closer together at the top. And then close it out. Okay. So I'm going to show you a couple different techniques. Oh, before you put your Sharpie away, if you want, you can put a line there so that it looks like it's sitting on a kitchen counter or on a table. Okay. So now you can put your Sharpie away. Now, for your crayon, okay, I want you to think about value, okay? Value is how light or dark a color is, okay? So I'm going to pick purple, and I'm going to pick a completely different color. I'm going to pick 2 different colors, okay? Now, if you look at this, one of the reasons that my cupcake wrapper looks so neat is because I colored darker at the bottom and lighter at the top. I did that on purpose. Every time I colored darker at the bottom and lighter at the top. Do you know how I talk about how it's okay to make mistakes? Let me show you a mistake I made. I was trying to make a pattern of different colors, And then I took this dark green and I accidentally started coloring this one. How did I fix that? What did I do as a solution to my problem? Well, I added some shading at the top of my light green pieces. I actually really like that a lot better because it looks like a shadow coming down from my cupcake. So what I'm talking about, and I'm just going to demo this once on this side and so that I can get over to the painting side, is that I'm coloring lightly with my crayon all over it, okay? And then to create definition or to create different values, I'm going to press harder with my crayon at the bottom. And then as I'm going up the cupcake, I color a little bit lighter, a little bit lighter. Do you guys see how it went from dark to light? Let's try it with the pink now. Pink will be a little bit harder because it's a lighter value. So there's not as much pigment in this crayon as there is in like a blue or a black especially. So then I go down here to the bottom and I press really hard. And remember, if a crayon breaks while you're using it, that's okay. It was just doing its job, okay? Crayons break in life. It's just what happens. Now, like I said, I really liked adding those shadows. So I think what I would actually do for fun is that I would add the pink to the top of the purple up here. So now it's blending from purple up to pink. Does this remind you of our coloring that we did on those superheroes yesterday? Hey, little crayon, stop rolling around. And then I can color a little bit of my purple. I am barely pressing right now because I don't want it to be overly purple, but I can add a little tiny purple shadow up there. Oh, that looks really cool. I will probably finish this later. So I'm going to go over to my painting side. I have a thicker paper today. So we talked about this last week. If you have a thicker paper, you can do more wet on wet painting. Wet on wet painting is when you actually paint water on top of, let me just scoop this out, is when you paint water on top of something, okay? So what I would do is I would paint water inside here. I'm going to stick with those same colors. I have my paper towel just in case I get out of my lines. And what I'm going to do on this is I'm going to paint water in every other section. Okay, so water, no water, water, no water. Okay, so that it makes a pattern. Okay, now I can mix up some paints. Again, I'm going to use the same color. I just got a little tiny bit of purple on there. And now I can paint it in purple. Now to make it darker, what I'm going to do is instead of adding more water, I'm just going to add more paint. Wow, look at that. Do you see how it's bleeding? And then I just wiggle the paint up the side of the cupcake, and I'm just going to let that go. I'm going to let it paint itself, okay? If I can hear my paintbrush, I know I don't have enough paint on it. So what that means is that if you're hearing a sound from your paintbrush, there's not enough water on it. And to lighten a watercolor paint, all you do is add water, okay? So with crayons to change the value, you press harder. With watercolors look at that color bleed. With watercolors to change the value, you add water. So add pressure for crayons, add water for watercolors. All right, now I've got those so that they're really, oh, I love that. And I even made it so that it's like darker, middle, lightest, okay? That was not on purpose, but I'm gonna keep it because I like it. All right, now we all know that if you add white paint to red, you get pink. So what happens, this is okay. Sometimes if I'm doing a real serious painting, not that these are not serious, this is high art here, man. Sometimes if it's a serious painting, I would wait and let that watercolor dry in between colors. So we might have some extra color bleeding today, but that's okay. That's not going to hurt anybody. Okay, so let me mix up some pink. So that means I am actually, did you guys know that these sections up here on a watercolor palette, the reason that there's these little bars in between each of your palettes is because that's where you can mix up color. So I'm going to mix up a pink paint up here. This is taking a little bit more time than I want it to. So I'm going to put some water up here, and then I'm going to grab a little bit of this red, and I'm going to mix it up here. Now, let's say that I wanted to make a red violet. Then I could even add some purple up here. And then what you do to clean it out is you just take a paper towel and dry it, okay? So now, oh, see, now I've got a nice light pink. Oh, I've taken up too much room today. All right. Now, if I want this to be darker at the bottom, now it's blending with that purple and making a really pretty red violet. Now I can just grab a little bit of red from the palette. And again, I'm just kind of letting it paint itself. I'm just going to stop there. And it's okay that my colors are blending. It's going to have this really pretty effect from the colors blending. So many times when we think something is an accident, it's actually kind of a solution to a problem we didn't know we had. Like, I didn't know that I was going to need some purple in this red, but it looks so nice. All right, so now it's blending. I hope that it's coming through on the screen as well as it is on my paper. It looks a little harsh on the screen, but I promise this is really, really beautiful. So I'm going to get some of that pink that I made. Okay. And then a little bit of the red. Let it blend itself. All right. Now, whatever you do, don't pick up a watercolor painting to be like, hey, Mom, and show it to her, because all your colors will drip and run. Okay. Now, I want to talk to you guys about a fun way to make shadows. So if you look on here, you can see these blue shadows that I put in with crayon, okay? I left all this paper white. Now, I wanted white frosting. Let's say that you wanted strawberry frosting. Well, what you could do is color everything pink and then create a shadow with pressure, okay? So let's make a strawberry frosting on here. So let me grab, here is a violet red. So let me show you what I mean. So if I wanted to make a strawberry frosting, I could take, boy, this is going to be a super girly cupcake. All right. Pinkalicious probably would have created this cupcake. I don't know if I'm allowed to say trademark names on a YouTube channel. We're all learning here. All right. So I'm going to color that in really light. And then I can add kind of like a C shape shading on either side. And what that's going to do is it's going to look like cupcake frosting that has shadows on it. So I'll just really quickly color this in up here. Give that a nice shadow. Oh yes, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Okay. And then add a little shadow on that side. Oh my goodness, look at that. It's so yummy looking. I love this. Okay. So how do we do that with paint? I'm going to go back to blue on this one. And we're going to do dry brushing, okay, which means I'm going to paint straight onto the paint palette. And I'm going to actually make some light blue. Went backwards. I'm going to make some light blue. Sorry about that. I'm going to make some of that up here. Still a little bit too dark. Okay, so I'm going to make light blue up here. And then with dry brushing, I can just paint the lines on. So remember how I used that C shape for the shading? Now, if you wanted to have the pink icing with the dark pink shadows for this, what you're going to do is you're going to do a two-step painting process. So that means you are going to, oh my goodness, this looks so cute. That means you are going to paint it all blue or paint it all whatever color you wanted. And then you'll let it dry. And then once it's absolutely dry, you can go back and paint it again. Look at that. I'm getting these really, really cool looking shadows on here. So it'd be painted all one color. And then to add the next shade darker, you would paint another layer on top after it's dry. If you don't wait until after it's dry, it's going to just blend all together. It'll look more like your cupcake wrapper where it's all blended as one color than it would like frosting my shadows. And then lastly, we're going to add, oh, let's go ahead and do our cherry. I want this cherry to be really dark red. So I'm going to make sure to get a lot of red paint on there. If you had not had the chance to look, oh my goodness, look how bright red I'm making that. It's almost too, no, it's not. That can't be too red. That is beautiful. If you did not get the chance to hear my glowing recommendation, I can't flip this over right now, but Prang watercolors are my absolute favorite watercolors. They are spectacular for student work, low cost, and they really yield wonderful colors. Okay, so now I can paint that cherry in. Look at that. Oh my goodness, so good, so good. Okay, so let's add some sprinkles. Okay. Sorry, I'm flipping back and forth between these two paintings because I'm hoping that some of you guys are doing crayon and some of you are out there doing watercolor paint. But what I'm going to do with the red so that I can actually, it was harder to make two tones in the watercolor paint. But if I wanted to make two tones on my cherry, I would color a letter C, backwards letter C, behind the cherry right there. And then see, look at that. Broken crayons happen. Here's my broken brown crayon. And it still colors. All right. There we go. So that, well, while I'm here, I would love to know what sprinkles. We are in the Pittsburgh area. So I grew up in the state of Indiana calling sprinkles sprinkles. Okay. If you live in Pittsburgh, they are called jimmies. And it took me longer than I care to admit to realize what jimmies even were, because I'd never heard of them before. Oh my goodness, that looks so, so yummy. All right, so let's add some sprinkles on our painted one. All right, get a little bit of orange paint. I'm making sure to really load up this paint because I do want the sprinkles to be very bright and vivid. I am barely pushing down with my paint. If you painted this in all the way, you may want to wait for it to dry before you're painting in your jimmies or your sprinkles. I think there's another name for whatever these are that I'm putting on here. So if you know what that name is, if you don't mind actually leaving me a comment and letting me know, I would appreciate it. I'm going to grab some purple too. We're going to use our secondary colors for the jimmies or sprinkles. I'm trying to make sure to appease my entire audience by using all beneficial names. Isn't that beautiful? I purposely did not paint any of those sprinkles or jimmies into my shadows because I didn't want them to bleed a whole bunch. Okay, let's add one more right there. All right, it has been such a pleasure to spend time with you today. Now, if I wanted to, I could color this in around it. I actually like it sitting on this white background. But you could paint in the bottom, paint in the top, or if you're doing the coloring, you could color in the bottom, color in the top. I'll leave that completely up to you. It has been a pleasure spending time with you today. I hope that you have an excellent rest of your day. Keep those pictures of your finished projects coming to me because it's so fun to see them. Have an absolutely beautiful day. Bye.